Method came about. I was just in the shower one day, that's where a lot of those thoughts come from, just for film. And then I just thought, what if I want to do something edgy? I want to break into the mold of just something dark, something different.
All right, my name's Cassia Sherrill, and I played the part of Bentley during Method. Bentley's kind of a scared, kind of skittish type of guy, always looking over his shoulder, doesn't know what's going to happen next. He always feels like there's someone out to get him, and I guess in a way he was kind of right about that.
Oh man, Hank, I love Hank, I honestly do. Hank, bless his heart, he really is, I don't know, he's kind of, in his own mind, he really feels like he's doing his best to do a good job, Like he really does his best, but he really doesn't do that good of a job of it. He's kind of like, how you have in the movie, you have the smarter, like more intelligent, like villain. He's his sidekick. He's like his runner-up. Not quite there, but really like tries to do his best.
Tom is a control-oriented character. The thing he wants the most out of any scene is control over the situation. So as this short progresses, he loses more and more and more control, which is why he's absolutely freaking out by the end of it. With every aspect of control that he loses, he just loses a little bit more of his sanity. And it's really fun to do that.
The thing with me is I love twists in films. I love a nice shocker to really just make the audience think and surprise them. So the fact that these are not criminals but actors is that thing.
The Method, as we know, it was made by Konstantin Stanislavski, and his basis was that in order for you to make an emotion real on camera, or on stage rather, you have to have felt it. You have to know what it's like. What I used, the technique that I was trained in, was Meisner, and Meisner was a good friend of Stanislavski back in the day. All the Russians did acting. But Meisner is basically all the same technical stuff, but with imaginary situations. So I don't have to go and rob somebody to know what it's like to rob somebody. I can just be like, oh, if I were to rob somebody, this is probably what it would be like.
Pretty much to prepare for the role, I just pictured myself as being like somebody who was kind of subordinate. So it's kind of like looking to get higher, but like the higher you got, like the more somebody like tried to take you down. I remember just on set, just sometimes just like going to people randomly, whether it was Caleb or whether it was a few other people on set, just saying, give me like a really like sad story. Whenever I need to like draw some really like sad motivation, really seeing more of how a set can really be a family, because you're doing like long work days on set.
Being first AD on this project, there was a lot of issues as far as just trying to stay on time. On the second day of shooting, it was probably like our busiest day. We had about 7 hours to do 54 shots. And that is a lot of shots for one day. We had maybe anywhere from 5 to 8 minutes per shot, and that was all we got. It was quite the day. I'll remember that. It definitely breaks my record for most shots per day.
I had 126 shots to get done in 3 days, which for those that don't know how big of a deal that is, it's like, for average, a filmmaker does no more than 20 shots a day. No more than 20. And that's really pushing it. They would probably get 10, 12 shots a day. One day I filmed 50 shots in 6 hours. So that was about 7 minutes per shot. And that put us on edge. It really did put us on edge. I had to cut a couple shots and combine a few. And that stood away of the original vision, but I think that what we got was satisfactory and really helped the script in some ways better for my opinion.
Well, I told Harrison, I want to be in your film. And he said, Zach, I don't think you're going to be in my film. I'm like, why not? It's like, well, you're not an actor. But then a few days later, he's like, yep, Zach, you got the role. Police officer Tom, he said he's not going to shave his beard. police officers have to be shaved. So you got the role. Congrats.
It's a situational film and just explained in some very beautiful shots.
It's all about getting the shot in photography and in film. So if you got to get up close for a few seconds, that's what you got to do to get the shot. And yeah, so I really enjoyed like trying to be concise and catching moments.
One of my favorites, I think, was in the field, where Bentley just went down, and they were gonna carry his body to the car, and there's just like this really nice composition of like Bentley's head, and then them like coming in and like carrying him over there. I think that's a really cool way to take it, because it's not just all even and happy lighting, but a lot of it is contrasty, and I think Harrison wanted some, blues and grays and like greens in there, like a little bit more of the nitty-gritty stuff, which is really cool.
So I will enjoy like working with the color palette and like trying to feel out the atmosphere of a scene and like translating that into color.
The hardest part of being a script supervisor, I'd say, is just you're going to several different places, being like, hey, what's the sound roll for that, director or whoever, like, how was the take, what'd you think of that? Just making sure continuity from shot to shot was all good and all organized and whatever, and it was a routine that I got actually kind of used to pretty quickly, but still, like, you just got to make sure you're on top of a whole bunch of different stuff at once.
I did a lot of like green screen stuff. On our last day of shooting, I really did a lot with the green screen, holding it up and everything, making sure, positioning it and everything, so that way there wasn't too much light reflecting off of it and such, so that way it would come out all nice and wonderful.
The day before we were filming, I got the text that our locations dropped. The day before we were filming, so we didn't know where we were going to film the next day or what was going to happen.
I wasn't sure what we were going to do. I had already talked to Harrison about maybe rethinking, like if we had to, like rethinking where we would shoot the field location. So I was kind of like preparing for like the worst in my head.
Location dropping. That was my least favorite. Trying to get a hold of the field was pretty hard. I had Ann's field, and they were trying to get back to me. And it seemed like they were going to go for it, like they were going to give us the field. But then they said, nope, we're not doing it. So I call up Cassia and try to like say, hey, I need a field. Can you give me like some suggestions I might be able to go for? And she mentions Berkey's field.
And then like all of a sudden he comes back to me and he's like, hey, like this field location, it ended up working out. And I was like, whoa, that's amazing. Like I was like, this is awesome. Same thing with 7-Eleven as well, because we had been having trouble with like stores letting us come in. Lots of stores just don't let students come in to film.
When we were about to film at the field, I noticed that there were houses by, and someone said, hey, maybe we should go to all the houses that we are filming. So I was gonna go do that, and I noticed one of the houses had a Confederate flag in the window. And I was like, oh, I would go over there, but I don't know how much they would enjoy my company, and if they would even open the door. So I kind of let Ty and Austin try to handle that situation, but in the end they still didn't open up the door.
One of the really funny parts of the first day we were filming is we were getting shots of the car rolling up into like, the location, the frame of the scene. And there was like really tall grass behind them, and there was a house in the background that we tried to avoid. And so when they first pulled up, it was fine, and we got the shot, and it was perfect. And then another angle of the car we were gonna get, the house was gonna be in the background. So we had to like change the angle a little bit and bring the car further up to like a slightly different location. And then like the pole wasn't quite there. It's like, oh, well, the audience probably won't notice that. And then we were gonna do like the last like angle of the car, and then like off in the distance, this lawnmower comes like by and just cuts like all of the grass in the background of the car. And so we were like, what?
I actually lost my car key the day before set too, so that's why I had to drive out with my crew because we had to go to my house. My car kind of shut off twice during production on the last day. I didn't figure that. So we had to jump start it twice on set.
Just by working with him, I'm inspired to fulfill my purpose and to exercise my passions in filmmaking.
A lasting impression, I think I'll choose Christopher Walken.
This set was really nice.
Oh gosh, I hit his head.